Morning. It's now 11. So I would like to welcome you to this Portugal Finlab webinar, closing the second edition and launching the third one. You will have the opportunity to get an overview of the second edition with a summary of the results and also to receive in first hand the announcement and details of the next edition that starts today. Our agenda has three main parts. The first one will be a presentation by José Miguel Almeida, member of the board of CMVM, with the insights on the second edition that now comes to the end. The second one will be a panel moderated by Manuel Caldeira Cabral, member of the board of ASF and composed of representatives from APRE, Matt Waite, from M Contabilidade, António Ferri Antunes, and from SWOOD, Julia Cohen. After the panel discussion, we will have a short Q&A period, and you can raise some questions. Due to timing constraints, we would like to ask you to pose short and objective questions. Finally, this webinar will close with a presentation by Helder Rosalino, member of the board of Banco de Portugal, on the launch of the third edition of Portugal Finlab. Before giving the floor to the first speaker, let me just remind some organizational aspects. The webinar language will be English. Participants should use the raise hand functionality to raise questions. Microphones are muted and will be switched on when someone wants to raise questions. And in case of difficulty, just use the chat. And now I give the floor to the first speaker, José Miguel Almeida.
Good morning and welcome to the Portugal Finlab webinar. Let me upload the presentation here and just take a moment while I'm doing this. So I think you all can see the presentation. So good morning and welcome to the Portugal Finlab webinar. It is a great honor to be here today for the closing of the second edition of Portugal Finlab and the launching of the third edition of this initiative. Portugal Finlab aims to foster an ecosystem for growth, cooperation, and stability, envisaging fintech, insurtech, and regtech development in Portugal. It results from the close cooperation between the three Portuguese financial authorities, the Portuguese Insurance and Pension Funds Supervisory Authority, ASF, Banco de Portugal, BDP, and the Portuguese Securities Market Commission, CMVM. The second edition of the Portugal Finlab was a success and an improvement in relation to the first edition due to the knowledge acquired by the authorities on financial innovation. Therefore, it is with great satisfaction that I share with all of you the second edition Portugal Finlab report. The report starts by presenting an overview of this edition, where you can read an explanation of how this innovation hub works, its result, and the key challenge we had to face. The second batch of this edition started on 16th March 2020 and took place in a notorious adverse context due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It required an additional effort from the authorities with the need to reallocate resources and readjust its operations following the difficulties of holding public promotional event. Nonetheless, the second edition has attracted 32 innovators, not very far from 39 that applied for the first edition and whose development and conclusion occurred without significant delay. To achieve this, it was essential the collaboration of the participants. Moreover, in this edition, the authorities made an additional effort to clarify the regulatory doubts of the non-selected candidates through bilateral communication. Portugal Finlab, two editions, received 71 applications. This performance highlights the success and the interest of this initiative for the fintech, insurtech, and regtech markets. For the authorities, we became more able to follow market developments in those fields. Also, it is fair to say that the coverage and capacity of the authorities to give a straightforward response to fintech, insurtech, and regtech companies has never been better and has developed the blueprints for a fast track. May I ask you to put, please, for a fast track structure to deal with them? Although most of the applications were from Portuguese companies, the Portugal FinLab was able to capture the attention of companies from abroad seeking to pursue their business activity in Portugal, or at least with a base in Portugal. The report shows that 17 out of 71 were foreign companies, 9 in the first edition and 8 in the second edition. This highlights that Portugal is not only a supplier of great talent, but is also a place with top conditions to attract great talent from abroad, provide an international and developed ecosystem for business, and have a prominent position to engage in important economic opportunities. The report also shows the number of authorities involved in the assessment of selected projects in both editions. More than half of the projects had a mix of different financial activities. These projects are the ones that benefit the most from the Portugal FinLab since they receive support from the three authorities through a single contact point. This allows participants not to have to worry about knowing the competencies and remit of each regulator. It also provides great flexibility and a fast lane because the three authorities are seated at the same table with the participants, making it easier to coordinate and provide quick feedback. In this second edition, it is fair to say that the authorities improved their understanding and awareness of market trends, resulting in a more agile and dynamic communication with innovators in Portugal, Finland, despite the increasing complexity of the projects. After the relevant statistics, the report provides us with some feedback from the 10 participants of the second edition: Alfredo, Après, Coverflex, Capitalia, Pinanfly, Impact Market, iWells, M Contabilidade, Speedy Version, and Sud. The second edition of Portugal FinLab also stood out due to the participation, for the first time, of an incumbent institution which presented an interesting project that combines different services, showing that the incumbents are also innovators and that the Portugal FinLab can promote a level playing field for incumbents and new players. Portuguese financial authorities clearly understand and support innovation. At the same time, they must ensure that all the players that are carrying out their financial activities do it within the same rules and understanding their regulatory perimeter. All these reinforce fintech projects' credibility in the market. In fact, regulatory certainty provided by Portugal Finlab enables growth for the new applicants and for the incumbents by fostering the confidence of their clients, investors, and other stakeholders in their business innovation. The report presents subsequently some insights provided by Elder Rosalino, Manuel Caldeira Cabral, and myself as members of the board of BDP, ASF, and CMVM, respectively. Briefly, those remarks highlight the project scope in the Portugal Finlab second edition, the Portugal Finlab as a successful platform among peers in Europe, and the launch of the third edition of Portugal Finlab, taking into account that the three authorities strongly believe that Portugal Finlab adds great value to the projects and to the Portuguese financial system. Last but not the least, the report includes an impact analysis, opportunities and challenges of COVID-19 for fintech companies by the President of Portugal Fintech, João Freire de Andrade. Portugal Fintech is a non-profit association that was essential to the setup of Portugal Finlab in 2018. I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate relevant role that the fintech community, among them the Portugal Fintech, has played in welcoming new projects, both national and international, contributing to the success of Portugal Finlab. To conclude, the response from fintech innovators to the Portugal Finlab and the notable improvements of this second edition create higher expectations for the future and a stronger and sound relation with the financial supervision in Portugal. Portugal Finlab proved to be an initiative that offers a pragmatic, usable, and efficient approach for innovative projects. Therefore, Portugal Finlab must keep rolling. Thank you for your attention.
Then, after receiving this detailed information on the second edition of Portugal Finlab and on its report, we will now have the opportunity to know the opinion of some of the participants in this initiative. For that, we will proceed to the panel discussion that will be moderated by Manuel Caldeira Cabral, member of the board of ASF.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to present the firms. So the floor is of the firms right now. They are just a sample of the many firms that participated in this project, which Finlab already is the second edition. These three firms that we are presenting today participated in the second edition. Are a few of the several firms that participated, but are important to listen to the opinion. These are very different firms that include a project linked to a major Portuguese bank, so an incumbent, but also startups that started their activity on this very special year of 2020. But I think the important thing is to listen to the firms, so I'll pass the floor to the firms. What I would like to start by asking each of the firms is to present a brief presentation of what is your project, and next, how the participation in the Finlab impacted to your project, to the evolution of the project, how did it help, and what were the major features that the participation in Finlab brought to the making forward your project. I'll start by SWOT, and then to M Contabilidade, and then APRES. the order is aleatory, but I think that I would like to see the inside. So I'll ask you to start by presenting the project, and then by presenting how did the participation in Finlab impacted in your project and in the future of your project.
So hello everyone, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm Julia Cohen, co-founder and CEO of Suwood. We help companies take care of their talents. So what we are doing is that we are changing the employee benefits industry to our all-in-one platform that combine HR features with human resources functionalities. What we are doing is actually allowing companies to actually focus on what is the most important asset of that they have, that is people. So regarding our participation here at the Finlab program, for us was really important because we didn't know a lot of the legislations and tax framework that we needed to know to actually develop our project. So the report that they gave us was really important for us to understand what type of license we need to have to be using here in Portugal, to being like with all the legislations well defined, and also to make things go quicker, because since we didn't know all the legislations, having help of people that are inside of these institutions is really helpful for us to understand the whole scenario and then go quicker in going to the market.
So now I'll pass the floor to António Ferri Antunes, please. António, of Mar Contabilidade.
Okay. Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Now the sound is on. Hope everyone is safe in these tough times. Obviously that it was very nice. It's very nice when you have your work distinguished. It's I'm responsible. I'm the head of direct channels for SMEs in Millennium BCP, as you may know, one of the largest banks in Portugal. A lot of huge presence in SMEs. Namely in these tough times, in the financing the companies to throughout these difficult times. Regarding the Contabilidade, what we see, what we felt in this project, it's a confirmation that we were on the right path. We strongly believe that all our projects, our value proposition for companies should have a purpose. And what we have made in Contabilidade, it was exactly this. 3 years ago, we interviewed a lot of accountants, a lot of entrepreneurs, micro businesses, and we understand the problems that were regarding the connections. And what we have done is to understand deeply what are the pains and to fulfill the needs with a digital platform. This was not impossible. This was not possible without a partner, and this means that it's a message that I want to say here very clear, that for incumbent banks, it will be not possible to develop new value propositions for companies without partners, without partnerships. And fintechs like in this project, Cloudware was our partner in this project, has a strong connection and knowledge about accountancy, and it was very, very useful and now 3 years later, we know that we have made an impact in the market. We have a lot of companies using the service, a lot of accountants benefiting for the instant information, account reconciliation, and this means that we are made something that is useful for the market. Regarding the future, and this means that I would love to be with another distinguished service in the short time. but I will address a challenge for the Finlab team. I think that it will be very useful if we bring also to the table of these discussions the state, namely a agência AMA, Agência para a Modernidade, para a Administração, da Modernidade da Administração Administrativa, and ERN, Instituto dos Registros do Notariado. We need to bring the state also to these discussions because it will be very difficult to accelerate all the developments that we need to do in this future without the state and with their contribution.
Thank you for your suggestions and contributions. I'll pass the floor now to Matt Wade of APRES. Please tell us more about your project and also how you summarize your experience in participating in Portugal Finlab. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you all for having us here today. Again, my name is Matt Wade. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Apres. What we do is we help companies explain and interpret AI decisions. So it is built in response to GDPR and some of the regulations that require models to be more transparent, more loggable. Believe it or not, people like you and me actually need to know why an AI model makes a certain decision. Now, what we've shown to be able to do is integrate with the company's own black box model, make it transparent, and do so while reducing data costs over 10 times. A really easy way to think about it is if you made a credit decision based on a high performance AI model, you could know why it did or didn't make that decision and make a sort of an alternate decision based on that information. So we're really keyed in to help regulators, help individuals build responsible AI. Now, just summarizing our experience, I mean, frankly, it was a great experience. So we came into the process with only guesses as to how our product could impact and be impacted based on regulation. And what we found was that the experience really forced us to develop opinions and assets and product in line with really the conversations that we were sharing. And the interviews really then highlighted these questions in ways that reinforced our progress throughout sort of the entire Finlab experience. In the end, sort of the report that you gave us really gave us the certainty that we needed to double down on certain decisions, as well as to continue the conversations with the individuals that we've named as kind of key individuals in the regulation landscape. So thank you guys for involving us. It's really been a fabulous experience.
Thank you for your presentation and for participating, because it's also important for us as regulators to learn with the experience of the different participants on how can we improve regulation and how we can improve our relationship with the stakeholders, which you are, and especially with these new stakeholders that bring new demands to our supervision process. So I'll go back to Julia. Hello, Julia. And I'll ask now, what was the biggest surprise you found in this innovation hub? And if you would recommend the participation in Portugal Finlab to other players in the market, and why?
So for us, of course, that we will indicate the participation for other companies, because it's really important to really understand the regulation, legislation in the country that you want to operate, and having this help to understand this scenario, it's amazing, because doing by itself, it's really complicated. We were trying to do before Finlab, and to understand all the situations was something that was not easy. And the biggest surprise was actually to see that we needed help for more than one institution. We end up having help like for the insurance part and the financial part, like Banco de Portugal and ASF, if I'm not wrong, because I always messed up the name of the institution, but I think that is. And for us was really interesting to understand that in the report that you gave us in the end, I have all the information that we were actually needing it, and when we talk with like the incubator that we are on it, they were talking to us. This was a really detailed report, and it was really nice for us to see that was not something like, okay, you need to be in this and this legislation and that's all. No, you gave us all the details for us to understand exactly why we need to be in this situation and why it is not this other one. And the thing that, because our project is really like complex, we have a lot of things going on at the same time. So for us to see that we have a lot of things to be in the right regulations, and having the help that you gave us was really important. And the biggest surprises was actually to have both institutions helping us at the same time.
Thank you, Julia. And it is true. You have access to people that are in the different regulators, which are workers that we have. It's our main asset of a regulator is their workers with 10, 20, 30 years of experience in a very complex field, because regulation is a very complex field. We have to follow the rules, but we have to interpret the rules, and we have to keep interpreting the rules when facing with new situations, which is what these fintech companies bring us every day. So I'll go back to Antonio, and I would ask, how can an incumbent, because it's a big firm, and you already said that the importance of the incumbent and the big firm to have projects with smaller firms and to give autonomy to these projects to make them advance at the rhythm of fintech and not at the rhythm of the big firm, more corporation, which is a different rhythm, of course. But how can an incumbent, in this case a large bank with a strong presence in the market, benefit from participating in an initiative like Portugal Finlab? And I'd really like to see Antonio's opinion about it.
Thank you very much, Manuel. But let me start with totally agreeing what Julia said. We have been with the Banco Portugal a lot of times after the meeting, developing and ideating new value propositions. And it's very important to an incumbent bank to have this strong connection with the regulators in the beginning, starting developing new services hand by hand. Regarding the process to how do we see the future, it's very important to understand that we are a little bit we are behind the rest of European countries regarding the digital signature. And what we feel for the next months and probably years is that we need all as a society to have every person able to sign digitally documents. This means, for instance, regarding the companies, we need to understand who is in charge in the company, and the process to validate this is a very difficult one nowadays. We need to agilize these processes, but I feel that it will be these initiatives with the regulators and with the public entities. It will be very, very important to us as incumbent banks to understand how we could act like a startup, like a fintech. This is obviously a challenge. It's a challenge because for the dimension of the company, but obviously regarding also the priorities, and we need to have small teams, exactly like a fintech, with 5-10 people working in a project with the capacity to take decisions like a startup, and we are working on that path. Obviously, with as I mentioned earlier, with the partners that has the same goal to develop new value propositions for the customers.
Thank you. I'll go to Aprils for this round, and what you are doing with artificial intelligence is really, really interesting. And it's interesting for the companies, for them to check out what are the results of the model that the algorithm that they develop for artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence has a path of its own, and you need to check where this path is leading. But it's also very interesting for us as regulators. We need more and more to be aware of what the black box of artificial intelligence is doing and how it's discriminating people and how it's evaluating risk in a serious way, which is important for the firms, but also if it is discriminating people in ways that are not compliant with what are our objectives, and also if what people are putting in the learning process of artificial intelligence is mostly better ways to evaluate risk in the case of the insurance regulator, better ways of evaluating risk, or if it is better ways of evaluating the customer and extracting a bigger rent from customers that are more willing to pay, because this is a very complex issue, but artificial intelligence can learn a lot of things. And I think your company, and I would like to listen to you about this, how can your company and the solutions you have lead us to better understanding what is on the other side, and even to regulate and to oblige in a way to changes in the algorithm in cases where it's not compliant. Please enlighten us more about this.
Please, sure. So without getting very technical, let's refer to machine learning sometimes in the way that we think of it as magic boxes. It's a really unfair place to put regulators, put businesses to have these magic artifacts that are going to come up with, fanciful decisions. And for us as a business, we find that to be really hard, and what we've seen for anyone to manage, but really hard for the market to accept. And we've seen many examples of large companies like Amazon or New York Life coming to market with products that end up having detrimental effects against their customers and product lines, specifically in regard to exploitative behaviors or bias. Now, this also can extend to just business drivers. I mean, being biased towards a certain risk profile or being biased towards a certain decision just because you've made it before can also be detrimental to the business itself. And so what we as a business try to do, and specifically through the lens of regulation, is not only highlight why decisions are made, which is, functionally important, but also what decisions companies can make today to, over time, allow them to make better decisions. It's very unfair to ask a business like a bank to upend an entire credit process so that they can work out bias that might be, evident in all of the data that they have. They might just have had biased data processes, but working with regulators and giving regulators a view into the information as well as how certain choices can impact sort of working these biases out over time is a core focus for our company. If a bank wants to adopt these technologies, it can be revolutionary, not only for their business, but for their customers. And it just so might, like I've said previously, be that they have biased data. And so I think where regulators need to meet the business is just an understanding that decisions are going to be made in the past that we can't affect in the present, but we need to make choices that we can work out those questions over time. And really, that's where our software is trying to lead regulation, is to say, these things can meet in a comfortable way, and we can track them through time to make sure that they have positive results. And when they don't, we should be able to classify how and why that decision occurred so that we can implement the processes to make sure that it doesn't happen in the future. And so for us, we see these magic boxes as things that are really a problem and are functionally irresponsible to have in market. And that's really why we're trying to build the software that we are, is to promote the accessibility of responsible AI.
Thank you. I'll have already some questions from the public, so I'll pass to these questions. And the first question is to António Ferri and Tunes. And it's the question is to I'll pass to the question. Tell us if it was Portugal Finlab, in which way it contributed to consolidate your project, and what are the challenges you foresee in the next years to bringing innovation to SMEs and business. And I think the question here is how do your accounting, bringing in the accountants into our project, may contribute to innovation in the financial sector for SMEs.
Thank you very much for the question. Regarding the contribution of Finlab, it was for us, it was a new participation. I remember well when we entered in the room, someone told us that it's very nice to have an incumbent bank innovating, and that was a good feeling, because we always think that if we want to have our customers with the new value propositions, we need to innovate, and we need to innovate, knowing that what we are doing, it's validated by the regulators. It was a very good feeling, and it was very important for us. Regarding the future, our main concern is to understand how the Portuguese market will manage the incumbent banks working in Portugal with the fintechs that are in Lithuania or in Ireland or in Sweden, with the value propositions very competitive, working on open banking already, and we need to cope that with the value propositions that we are working now. But we need to understand that all the level playing field is the same, and sometimes we don't feel that, and it's very important that for the next months and years we work. These initiatives like Finlab would help us, namely the incumbent banks, to understand and to make new value propositions with knowing that there are other players like fintechs outside Portugal that are very competitive, as you may know, and we need to cope that with a strong answer by the banking community, Portuguese banking community.
Thank you. I'll pass now to Vitor Pinho, which also has asked to make a question, and I think he's online, and it's possible to put him for a short intervention. Please, Vitor Pinho, if you can.
Thank you. I don't know if you are listening well, but
we are not seeing you, Vitor.
Okay.
Listening well.
Okay, I have a problem with the camera, but it's not important.
Okay.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. It's very important for us as a tech company, a startup in Portugal, to work in projects like this. We are responsible for an RP, an online RP for more than 100,000 companies in Portugal, and we joined Millennium on this journey to help the company entrepreneurs to simplify the processes to pay, to reconciliate the transactions, and without a bank like Millennium and an opportunity like this to work together, it was impossible to do that for the accountants with this success. And now 2 years passed from the beginning, we can say that it was a great success, and now we have a lot of accountants and company owners that have their software, their management software, totally integrated to the bank, and they can start payments, and they can have the accounting, the bank transactions inside the accounting software, and they can reconciliate automatically those kind of transactions. It was very, very important for us, this project.
Thank you very much. I'll go back to Julia now, and I would like you to address a very straightforward question, which is, do you think, well, small firms, startups, in their past, they need investors? Do you think that the participation in this process where you were discussing and getting opinions from two regulators will help you to get finance from your investors, would make it easier and more clear and diminish the risk in dealing with the investors to the acceleration part of your project when the growth comes, because I think it's an important issue for the startup.
Sure, thank you for your question. For sure, it is the management of the risk, because when you have like this great institution backing what you need to do, right? When you know exactly where the place you need to go, the path you need to go, because there are some regulations like Banco de Portugal and the other two regulations of Finlab backing you. Of course, that this helps the investors to understand that you know what you're doing, right? It's like you didn't decide to go through this type of regulations because you just search it for itself. You have help of people that have a lot of background, and this is for sure important for investors. In our case, we are still bootstrapping from the beginning, which means we doesn't have any outside investment yet, but we are planning to do to searching for one in the next year. So we are totally sure that participating in Finlab will definitely diminish the risk that we had before, and now we have for sure less. You are on mute. You are on mute.
It's not a proper webinar if we don't have technical problems. I'll go for the last round of questions, but if there is anyone that wants to ask a question, you can use the mechanism of raising the hand and ask any final question. But I'll go back to Andres, to Matt, and ask him the same question. If you think that the experience of Portugal Finlab contributed in any way to consolidate your project, it changes that you have to do in the project, and if you think that the results of this can be useful for you to present yourself to investors and to accelerate the growth of your firm.
Great. It's a great question. So for us, I think that it forced us, like I've said, to mature a bit in the way that we are acknowledging a lot of these topics, which necessitated certain product decisions. Through that process, we actually surfaced core IP that we believe is very defensible and very valuable. And it, runs along with our thesis in parallel, which is fantastic. So for us, it was really informative of not only how we should be governing ourselves as a company in a mature and articulate fashion as a young company should, but also to be thinking about innovative ways to acknowledge some of these results and some of the regulations, which is fantastic. Funny story about the report itself and how it impacted our investment efforts. So we are working toward our first consequential round of funding. And through this process, we did receive the report, which I did forward along to the group that has been interested. And that was fun because they said, Matt, you're going to have to walk me through it. And of course, any reason to talk through your credentials and to speak to the work that we're doing in the background to assure sort of the value of their investment and give them leverage, post dollars in is obviously a true value add. So for us, it was a great asset to forward along. It's something that we hold in high regard, that we'll forward along through, sales conversations, investment conversations to come. So again, it is a core asset that we've been able to leverage, and our investors appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I think the testimony of these three different firms, it tells more about the project than whatever I could add. It was a very interesting discussion. We had the time limit, and we are reaching the time limit. I would like to thank you very much, all of the participants. And I'd like to remember everyone that these were three of the very interesting examples that we had in this Finlab, but there were several other firms that participated, and we are opening now one more version of the Finlab. So we are inviting everyone to participate and to bring your projects. And what we can guarantee is that we are going to look at them in deep. We are going to look at them with the best people in terms of supervision, and we are going to try to solve your problems. Solve your problems within the laws, within the regulations, within the framework that exists, but it's important to work with the firms to find these solutions. And of course, startups that are starting, that are very young, that have very few staff, don't have the lawyers, the trained people that can do this very in-depth analysis. And the best way that a startup can start their activity is starting in a very firm ground, knowing that it's complying with all the regulations, knowing that what it is doing and the way it is doing, even if necessary, changing a bit the way it is doing things, it's complying with all the regulations and it's recognized by the regulators as a positive aspect. Startups have a very important contribute to give. Fintechs have a very important contribute and are already giving important contributes. And I think the Finlab is an acknowledgement of what the importance of this contributes to the markets and to the future of the financial system, in all of which we are going to participate in different roles, with different hats, but working together to make a better financial system. And a better financial system has to be a better financial system for the customers, for the people that we are serving. So without more delay, I'll pass the word to Elder Rosaline to finish this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. So let's now go to the final item of the agenda. I now pass the floor to Elder Zelino that will highlight the importance of launching a third edition and provide all the details you need to know.
Thanks, Teresa. Thanks, Manuel and Zé Manuel. You hear me well? And I will try to share my presentation. You are seeing the presentation?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
It's coming.
Yes.
Now we have.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to thank all the speakers and participants to attend this webinar. It's very well conducted until now. After presentation, the result of the second edition of Portugal Finlab by CMVM, by Zé Miguel, and after the interesting conversation and debate involving some companies that participate in the last edition, moderated by Manuel Caldeira Cabral, by ISF, I have the mission to present the third edition of Portugal Finlab, which officially starts today with application phase. I would like to start by explaining the main reasons why we consider important to keep Portugal Finlab open and active by launching this new edition, the third edition. For innovation, in our view, it is very important. First, because the number of applications in previous edition was 3.5 higher than the number of selected projects. With this evidence, we consider that there is space and should have opportunity to submit new ideas or projects to the regulator, which have not been evaluated before. And the second, there is an increasing number of business models that combine several business, financial service business, which benefit from a joint assessment by the different authorities, as Manuel said before. Third, we know that many Portuguese fintech are in an early stage of their development, and at a time when receiving clarification from the authorities is very important. And finally, and so important, we also know that there is a relevant interest from innovative foreign projects which seek to implement their business in Portugal. For us, regulator, the continuity of Portugal Finlab is very important because it is the best way to increase our knowledge about fintech's market and fintech entities that operate or intend to operate in Portugal. And in the same way, it is also important to be close and knowing the fintech market in all areas to anticipate issues that may impact in regulatory frameworks that we have in our mandate. And finally, it is relevant tool to achieve a level playing field between incumbents, operators, and new entities, following the principle, same business, same risk, and same rules. About motivation, as in previous edition, In the new edition, our main objective is to support innovative solutions in fintech market, ensuring guidance of regulatory questions and uncertainties put by the companies that present their application to the Finlab. And as in the last edition, the new edition of Portugal Finlab will address all companies with innovative technology-based projects in the financial sector that are in Portugal or in any other country that seek to exercise their activity in Portugal. It is important to say that, as Emmanuel said before, Portugal Finlab is open both to startup and incumbents in the same way. We are receiving projects from startups and incumbents, and for us it's the same. Should be innovative project, but we receive very well and without any kind of difference the project from startups or incumbents. About evaluation criteria, regulators will adopt the same criteria that they used in the previous edition to assess projects throughout the process. The criteria will combine the following 4 dimensions in each project: need for regulatory support, innovative nature, development status, and benefits and risks for the consumers and financial sector. To conduct the evaluation process, we will have a committee composed by experts from Banco de Portugal, CMVM, and ISF that will work very close and together in this assessment. About applications, as Teresa said in the beginning, the Portugal Finlab will start today. We'll have 2 batches. Applications for the first batch will open today, as remain open until the end of January of 2021. And the application for the second batch will open from mid-April and until beginning of June 2021. This is the timetable that we will put in place. This is timetable for the first batch. The application, as I said, will start starts today and remains open until end of January. The preliminary selection of project will be in February. Pitch days when entities can present their projects to the regulators will be in early March, and the final selection will take place by end of March. The project analysis, reporting and feedback phases will take place between April and June. The second batch will start in mid of May. Application will start in mid-May and will open until end of June. And the preliminary selection of the project will be in between June and July. And the pitch day will be in end of July. And the final selection take place in August in the next year. The phases related to the project analysis, report and feedback will take place between September and October. Is the timetable for the 2 batches. We will start today with the first batches, and we'll try to fulfill the calendar that we put in place. I will finish my presentation by thanking on behalf of Banco de Portugal, CMVM, and ISF for the presence and participation of all of you, and of course inviting all innovators to submit application for the 3rd edition of Portugal Finlab. These are the contacts for that, and we are open to receive several applications. We will work together and we will try to help the financial sector to innovate, to create value for all customers and for the financial sector in general. And I will finish here. Thank you very much, and I wish you a good weekend. Thank you very much. I give the word to Teresa.
Thank you. This webinar came to an end then. I would like to thank your participation on behalf of the 3 authorities, ASF, BDP, and CMVM, and also express our appreciation to the panelists. Please remind that you can find all relevant information about Portugal Finlab at the Portugal Finlab website. Innovators from the financial sector can apply, starting now, to the 3rd edition of Portugal Finlab. Once again, thanks for your participation and have a nice weekend.
Very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Safe.
Bye-bye.